Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Baseball Insiders betting edition. It is myself. It is Peter Dewey. This time around, we're going to be talking about an interleague series that starts tonight. It is my Toronto Blue Jays taking on the LA Dodgers in a 3-game set. We're going to give out our best bets and our breakdowns for all 3 games. If you're looking for Rob and Adam, they're going to be going live today at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So we got Peter and I talking betting now, and then 3:30 Eastern, Robert and Adam will be doing a mailbag show. So you'll want to tune into that live, get your questions into them. It's all going to be about trade deadline with that approaching. In what, a week? When is the trade deadline? A week?
August 1st, 8 days. 8 days.
Exciting times. So yeah, tune into that at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Peter, how did you do on last week's episode, Braves and Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I was 1-2 last week. A little disappointed by it because the Bryce Elder prop that I had, I thought was going to be an absolute lock, and then he only pitched 2 and 2/3 innings because he got rocked and he only walked one guy. I needed him to walk 2, so that was tough. But hit on the first 5 under in Game 3. And I mean, shout out to the Diamondbacks. I know you hit the under in Game 2, but Ryan Nelson pitched a gem in Game 2. I did not expect that out of him. So, yeah, it wasn't the best week, but wasn't a terrible week either.
Yeah, 1-2 for myself as well. Diamondbacks won that series. How about that? One of the craziest games of the season was Game 1, 16-13 final score there in favor of the Diamondbacks. And we were talking about how their chance to win a game that series would have come in Game 3. But it's actually the opposite because, of course, that's the way things go. They won Game 1 and Game 2, games that you felt the Braves had big pitching advantages, and then they lost Game 3. Of course, that's the way things go. Now, before we get into today's show, where we are once again going to be talking about the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, a quick ad read here from our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. You can see the promo code down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. MLB fans, have you signed up for DraftKings yet? If you haven't, you should. And if you are a new user, you can receive $150 in bonus bets instantly after following just 3 steps. Number 1, create an account. Number 2, make a deposit. And then number 3, place a wager of $5 or more on any sport. And whether your first wager wins or loses, you will still receive $150 in bonus bets. All you have to do is use the code Baseball Insider. All one word, Baseball Insider. When you sign up, the best part is using our code Baseball Insider. Not only do you get $150 in bonus bets, but it also supports the podcast. So if you're considering signing up for DraftKings, definitely use our code Baseball Insider to maximize your first bets. This offer is available for new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. And once again, maybe with that first bet, you go ahead and fade one of our picks, because 1-2 for both of us. We need a winning week, my friend. And hopefully we will have that here this week. Early week series. Not a lot of baseball action on tonight as well. So I would say this might be the game of the night between the Jays and the Dodgers. 3-game set. Let's quickly recap the 2 teams, though. Peter, start us off. Dodgers are at home. What has been going on with the LA Dodgers lately?
Yeah, they've really bounced back from – I don't even – want to say it's a bounce back because the Giants and the Diamondbacks were just playing some really good baseball, but they now have a 4-game cushion in the NL West, so it looks like they're going to run away with that division. We'll talk about the odds for the division in a couple minutes. It looks like they're going to absolutely run away with that, according to Vegas, and they're doing it without a lot of their starting pitching. Dustin May, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw all hurt right now, and somehow the Dodgers are still winning baseball games. Kershaw is on the IL with a shoulder injury. He's probably the most likely one to come back this season. But they've weathered the storm throughout it. Obviously, one of the best teams in baseball. And you look at their offense this year, number 3 in OPS, number 2 in home runs, number 2 in runs scored. So just an elite offensive team. And as Michael dropped in the chat, they need starting pitching. They definitely do. They've pitched a lot of young guys between Gavin Stone, Michael Grove, who's starting tonight, where they've just been kind of forced into pitching these guys because they don't have any healthy arms, but they've still been able to win baseball games. I think that shows not only how deep their farm system is, but just how deep the roster is. So yeah, they're one of the World Series favorites. I believe they're second in the World Series odds right now, despite all of this going on this season.
Yeah, so there we go. Like you said, Dodgers starting to pull away a little bit in the NL West, 4-game cushion now. When you're looking at the Jays, still 6.5 games back. The AL East, the Orioles have leapfrogged the Rays out. So the Orioles, who would have thought that the Baltimore Orioles would be leading the strong division at this point of the season? Jays not out of it yet, though, 6.5 games back. And they still have quite a bit of games left against the Orioles to close out the season. But they are currently sitting in the third wild card spot. The AL wild card race is going to be a fun one down the stretch. The Blue Jays are currently holding on to the final spot by 2 games. Red Sox and Yankees right behind them. Mariners, I think, 4.5 games back. So there's some teams that can make a run at that AL wild card spot. But as of right now, Blue Jays are holding on to that third and final spot. What I think might be the story of the series for the Blue Jays is we might see the return of Hyun-Jin Ryu. Obviously, one of the Blue Jays' best starting pitchers a couple of years ago. Didn't have a great year last year and then was injured. Hadn't played all year this year, but he had a few solid rehab starts. He's planning on joining the team now in Los Angeles. They haven't announced if he's going to make an appearance at all. But at the very least, he is back with the team. He is ready to go. So I don't know if maybe they're going to switch out a starter for one of these games and throw him out there, or maybe he'll just make an appearance in a relief situation. It hasn't been announced yet, but he is back with the team. And if he can deliver the types of numbers he posted a couple years ago with the Blue Jays, that's going to give this Blue Jays team a massive, massive advantage down the final stretch of the season. Mike, last do the Jays trade Kikuchi? Well, if Hyun-Jin Ryu ends up sliding back into this rotation, then they do kind of have a piece in Kikuchi that they can get rid of, or Alek Manoah if he doesn't work out. So they have some options there with that as well. Jays 11th in OPS over the last 30 days, but mainly, 11th isn't bad, but they got to be better. And mainly, my gripe with this team is Vlad Guerrero needs to step up. He hasn't been putting towards really a bad season, and he did win the home run derby, which means nothing, but his stats are not what they should be. He only has 17 home runs this year, which is down for him. He's barely the home run leader by a single home run. If you look at WAR, which people argue whether or not how important that stat is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he's 7th on the Blue Jays in WAR. That's not what you want. You need Vlad Guerrero is supposed to be your best player, if not number 1, number 2 behind Bo Bichette. And he's having a fine year, but not as good of a year as he should. So let's get Vlad Guerrero to step up in the final stretch of the season. Let's get Hyun-Jin Ryu back in the rotation, and the Jays could get hot down the stretch. Obviously, a big series now. It is interleague series, so it doesn't really have anything to do with kind of like tiebreakers or anything like that. But this is a tough test for the Blue Jays, so it's going to be a little bit of a measuring stick here for them. In terms of odds for these two teams, Dodgers second on the odds list to win the World Series at plus 475 behind only the Braves. Jays 16-1 to win the World Series. Actually dipped a little bit from where they were at the start of the season. Dodgers, as you mentioned earlier, Pete, minus 550 to win the NL West, which is pretty crazy. Only a 4-game lead on two teams who are only 4 games behind, but minus 550 to win the division. Blue Jays 6-1, kind of long odds, but not completely out of it yet. Dodgers obviously basically locks to make the playoffs at this point, minus 8,000, meaning you would have to place an $8,000 bet on them to make the playoffs just to profit $100. Blue Jays minus 215, which as a Blue Jays fan, that is promising. I like those odds, but also the AL wildcard race is going to be a tight one. They're in it right now, but there are some teams that could certainly catch them. Losing this past weekend, the series to the Mariners didn't help them. But Blue Jays are still favored to make the postseason. Michael asks, Bo Bichette's star season fading this year? Bo Bichette is the best player on the Blue Jays. I'm a Bo Bichette guy. I don't know if you can see it there. I got my Bo Bichette jersey on now. I expect big things from him in the final stretch of the season as well. Let's get Bo to step up. Let's get Vlad to step up, and we'll be all right heading into the postseason. All right, let's talk bets. After all that, tonight is game 1 of the series. Is Jose Berrios against Michael Grove. 10 p.m. opening pitch Eastern because it is in Los Angeles. We do have odds for game 1 and game 2. Dodgers minus 130 favorites tonight. Blue Jays plus 110 underdogs. Total is all the way up at 9.5. Peter, tell me that you're backing my underdog Blue Jays tonight.
I am. I absolutely love the Jays as dogs tonight. I think this is a spot where you have to really look at the starting pitching matchup, and I get how good the Dodgers have been this year. Don't get me wrong. I think they're one of the best teams in baseball, but I just don't know how they can be how the Jays can be this big of underdogs, honestly, against Michael Grove, because Michael Grove has been terrible this year. He has a 6.40 ERA, 4.82 FIP. He's in the 14th percentile in Major League Baseball in expected ERA this season. And he hasn't given the Dodgers any length. So he has made several appearances this year, some from the bullpen, some starting. He's only had one appearance all season where he's pitched more than 5 innings. That's a concern because, as we've talked about on this program before, the Dodgers bullpen hasn't been great this year. They have a 4.10 ERA. It's gotten better since it was earlier in the season, but it's still not great. So if you're going to basically guarantee at least 4 innings of that bullpen, I don't love it. Also, I think Jose Berrios has been one of the most underrated starters in baseball this year. Since May 6th, he's got a 2.64 ERA. The Jays are 10-4 in those starts. And in those 14 starts, he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs 11 times. So the floor for him, he's been terrific. And so really it just comes down to, can this Jays offense get going? I think they will. They're 9th in Major League Baseball in OPS against righties this year. And like I mentioned with the bullpens, the Jays have a top 10 bullpen in terms of 3.74. So if this comes down to a battle of the bullpens, I like the Blue Jays. I like the Blue Jays in the starting pitching matchup. I just don't see – I know Michael Grove won his last start. He pitched pretty well against Baltimore. I just can't back a guy who's got an over 6 ERA and a nearly 5 FIP in a pretty solid body of work this season. He's just too fadeable.
Yeah, Berrios got off to a rough start to the season, and people just kind of counted him out. But he's been fantastic since that rough start out of the gates. I'm going to go with a total bet on this one. I'm going to go under 9.5. I think this is an extremely high total. Berrios, as you mentioned, has been very good lately, especially this month. 1.47 ERA in 3 starts this month. Michael Grove, yes, overall the season has not been good. He has gotten a little bit better this month, at least in the small sample size. 3.6 ERA in 3 appearances in 2 starts. Couple main things why I like this bet, though. Number one, Dodgers bullpen, which for the large majority of the season was one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball, and it's probably the reason why they don't have a better record than what they do. But they might have fixed that issue, because actually over the last 30 days, actually lead Major League Baseball in bullpen ERA with a bullpen ERA of 2.1 over the last 30 days. So have they fixed it? Have they just gotten better recently? I think they have fixed it a little bit. They're probably not as bad as they were in the first few months of the season. They got a few relievers back, I know, which has obviously helped them. They're probably not as good as they have been over the last 30 days either, though. But I'm not going to count out the Dodgers now because of those bullpen numbers from the first few months. But the other reason, probably the number one reason why I like the under in this one, and it's something to keep an eye on throughout this entire series, is that these are 2 of the worst teams in Major League Baseball in leaving runners in scoring position. 25th and 30th in Major League Baseball and leaving runners in scoring position per game. Jays are leaving 3.63 runners in scoring position per game. Dodgers 3.72. So if you're going to bet the over in these games, you might get frustrated because you might see both these teams. It's the number one thing I've noticed when watching actually the Blue Jays offense when I'm watching their games, is that they love to leave guys on third and second base. So if you're going to bet the over, these are 2 frustrating teams to bet on in that aspect. So I'm going to go the opposite way, and I'll take the under 9.5. I think strong pitching for the Blue Jays. Hopefully a fine outing for Michael Grove. And in terms of, my under bet, hopefully they continue to leave runners in the scoring position. For my Blue Jays fandom, hopefully they can bring a few of those home, but still 9.5 is a pretty high total here. I'll go under with that one. Game 2, Tuesday night, is Chris Bassitt against Julio Urias. Dodgers favorites again by a little bit of a bigger number this time, minus 150 in this one. Blue Jays plus 130. Total down half a run. It's at 9 instead of 9.5. Peter, you have a player prop for this one.
Yeah, still waiting for this number to come out, but I don't like either side in this game. Both of these starters have been very weird all season. Bassitt, I think, has been slightly better than Urias, but his FIP is over 4, so I'm a little concerned about him regressing. But I'm going to take Urias under strikeouts here. I think it's probably going to be set around 4.5, maybe 5.5. I love the under at either one of those numbers. You look at his last 5 starts since coming back from injury, he went 3 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 3 innings, allowed 5 earned runs. Then he comes back with 2 great starts: 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned, 6 innings, 1 hit. And then his last start, 5 innings, 8 earned runs. So don't really know which Julio Urias is going to show up. I will say the Jays are not as good against left-handed pitching as they are against righties this year. They're 17th in OPS against lefties. But at the same time, they're 6th in Major League Baseball in strikeouts per game this year. They average just under 8 strikeouts per game. And Urias has more than 4 strikeouts in just 2 of his starts since May 7th. He missed some time, but still, believe he's had 9 starts over that stretch. Only 2 of them he went over. So I'm fading him here. I don't, like I said, I just don't know what start we're gonna get from him. And so when I look at this game, like, I don't love backing the Dodgers because we have no idea what Julio Urias we're gonna get. Don't love backing the Jays for the exact same reason. If we get the good Julio Urias, they're going to win. The Dodgers are going to win this game. And it goes the same for the total. He could give up 8 runs. He could give up 1 hit. Like, it's just so it's so back and forth. So I'd rather go on a player prop with him where somewhere he's been consistent. Strikeouts is kind of where I'm leaning. So I'm going to take the under there.
I'm going to go, unfortunately, with the Dodgers. I got to bet with my brain and not my heart here. I keep waiting for Chris Bassitt to blow up a little bit. I don't think he's nearly as good as the numbers that he's posted. Obviously, as a Jays fan, I hope his numbers improve even further. But and I think I have some numbers here to back it up. 3.92 ERA, but a 4.55 FIP and a 1.208 WHIP. So he's allowing runners to get on base. And hasn't shown up in his ERA too much yet. I think it might, especially taking on one of the better offenses in Major League Baseball in the Dodgers. And also the Blue Jays haven't been great against lefties, as you mentioned, Pete. OPS drops from 752 against righties down to 723 against lefties. And I'm going to bring up the Dodgers bullpen once again. I know it was a reason we actually were fading the Dodgers for a little while, but I think they may have fixed it. They got some guys back. That gives me some concern for betting against them for the most part. And like I said, my main reason here, though, is I just don't totally trust Chris Bassitt. I think he's going to regress, and now taking on one of the better offenses in baseball now seems like a logical time for some of that regression to appear. So I'm going to unfortunately fade my Blue Jays in game 2 of the series. I'll take the Dodgers minus 150 on Tuesday. We do have odds for that game, so I'll take a minus 150 Tuesday. Wednesday, the final game of the series, a series finale, a little bit earlier in the day, 4:10 p.m. Eastern, opening pitch here for this game. No odds for this one, obviously, within a few games ahead here, but the projected pitching matchup is UC Kikuchi for the Blue Jays, Tony Gonsolin for the Dodgers. I think this could be the game where Hyun-Jin Ryu maybe makes an appearance, whether he swaps out Kikuchi and makes the start or makes an appearance in relief. Just kind of my prediction. No odds for this one, but we can assume the Dodgers are probably going to be favorites, probably going to be similar odds to what we're seeing in game 2 here. Maybe even slightly bigger favorites with Kikuchi on the mound. So which way you go in this one, Pete? I think you're looking at the total.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over here. You kind of mentioned this pitching matchup. Kikuchi, 4.95 FIP this season. Gonsolin, 4.73 FIP. Both of them kind of been middling. Kikuchi's had some good starts, though. Like, looking back, he's had some good starts. But one thing I noticed earlier in the year, I believe it was a Brewers series we did with the Dodgers. The Dodgers were struggling against lefties. That is completely flipped. They've moved themselves to 7th in Major League Baseball on OPS against left-handed pitching now. So they're not a team you could just blindly fade against the lefties. And Kikuchi, for some of the numbers he has, his advanced numbers, like his expected batting average against, he's actually in the 54th percentile. It's pretty solid. But then you look at some of his other numbers, and the thing I noticed is he's allowing a lot of hard contact. So he's 14th percentile on average exit velocity against, 20th percentile in barrel percentage against. So he's getting away with giving up a lot of hard hit balls, and they've turned a lot into outs, but eventually that's part of the reason why his FIP is almost at 5. When you give up that much hard contact, eventually it's going to start finding some holes. This Dodgers offense, like I said, they're extremely good this year just overall, and they've been solid against left-handed pitching. And then the last thing, the key, I think, Gonsolin's allowed at least 4 runs in 6 of his 8 starts since the beginning of June. So we kind of have a floor here where he's probably not going to give you much in terms of, like, if we see another 9 here, maybe we're going to see a 9.5, given how high this total for game 1 is. I wouldn't be shocked if it's there. But like if Gonsolin's going to give up 4 runs and he only pitches 5-6 innings, like there's still some room for the Jays to score here. I just think that's too high of a floor for him in terms of where he's been. So I like the over here. I think both starts are going to get roughed up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see this total in double digits.
Yeah.
I would project it to be probably 10, maybe even 10 and a half. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of runs there. I don't hate that overplay. I got a bet on my Blue Jays one of the games this series, so it's going to be this game. I will take the Blue Jays money line. I'm going to assume they're going to be underdogs in this one here. UC Kikuchi, he's an interesting pitcher because, and he's also kind of a hard one to bet on or against because he's not consistent. He's not consistently bad or consistently good. He'll give up like 4 earned runs one start, and the next start he'll pitch like 6 scoreless innings. So I hope the good version of UC Kikuchi shows up in this one. But my main thing, and Pete, you kind of hinted at this, Tony Gonsolin has been terrible lately. I have the splits in front of me month by month. He made 1 start in April, didn't give up any runs. And May in 6 starts, a 1.95 ERA, and then June a 5.82 ERA in 4 starts, and then this month a 5.75 ERA in 4 starts. So he has been just absolutely atrocious over his last 8 starts. So I'll go ahead and fade him in this spot against my Blue Jays. Now, you did mention that the Dodgers have gotten a little bit better against lefties, or maybe more than just a little bit better against lefties as the season has progressed. But still, if you look at their season-long numbers, 797 OPS against righties, down at 775 against lefties. Kikuchi, obviously lefty, so maybe that's an indication the good version of Kikuchi shows up in this one. I certainly hope so. I got to bet on my Jays. I'm not going to wear my Jays jersey on the show and then not bet them at least one game. So I'll take them in game 3 against the Dodgers on Wednesday, late afternoon, 4:10 p.m. Eastern start time for that. So there you go. My 3 picks for these 3 games. I got under 9.5 tonight on Monday night. I have Dodgers money line on Tuesday, -150, and then I'll take the Blue Jays money line in game 3. Pete, you got the Blue Jays money line tonight, underdogs with Berrios on the mound. Tuesday, you're going to take a player prop, Julio Urias under strikeouts. That number is not available yet, but you'll take the under there, and then you'll take the full game over in game 3 on Wednesday. Any final thoughts? We got to talk about my Blue Jays. So how about your Yankees? They've won 3 or 4 games in a row, 2 games back from the wild card spot. Any hope for the Yankees?
There's some hope, but it all comes down to if Judge is going to be able to come back and actually be effective and healthy. If he's not going to be healthy, I don't think they should rush him back. But I actually had a question for you because I was looking at the division odds today. Would you consider the Jays at +600 to win the AL East? Because I think the AL East is still kind of wide open. I know the O's have played really well, but like Tampa Bay's fallen off a cliff. I don't know if the Yankees or Red Sox are good enough to make up all this ground. So like, do you think the Jays over this final stretch, especially if they do something at the deadline, have a chance to win the division?
They certainly have a chance. So I want to bet them at what did I say they are? 6-1?
Yeah, 6-1, I believe.
Maybe I will. And yeah, I think the Rays overperformed at the start of the year, and now the Orioles are overperforming now. So the Rays are already regressing to where they probably belong, and I think some regression is going to come for the Orioles as well. And like I said, there are some things working in the Blue Jays' favor, or at least that could work in the Blue Jays' favor. If Hyunjin Ryu becomes effective, that's huge. And if Vlad trends in the right direction here, that's going to be huge for them as well. If those 2 things alone happen, this Blue Jays team could get dangerous down the stretch. They have the offense to do it, and maybe they make a move at the deadline. Maybe, just maybe, they acquire Shohei Ohtani.
Well, the thing I'm thinking about too in that division, like genuinely, I don't think the Yankees are good enough even if they make a trade. But like, I don't think you just look at previous years. Like we know Tampa Bay is not going to make like a huge splash probably at the deadline because they don't want to pay guys long term really. So even if they trade for someone, it's going to be a rental. What kind of rental are you really getting that's going to really change the trajectory of the season? And then same thing with Baltimore. Not saying they wouldn't make a move, but would you make a move if you're Baltimore? You have all this young talent, all these prospects. They come up and they've played well. So why would you move them for potentially a rental or move them unless you feel like you have a plethora at some position? Like, I just don't think they're at that point where you make a trade to like go all in for this year. I think they're just entering like their chance of contending as a team. Like, I think it's going to be the next, like, I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the American League for the next several years if all these guys play as well as they played this year. And so I feel like the Jays, where they are in the standings, and also the fact that like it makes sense for them to make a win now move because like their young guys are like already established. Like they're already here, kind of what their team is. Like we don't really know the O's like down the line, which guys are going to stick and which guys they're going to feel like they want to move. So it's hard to make that decision right away. So I don't mind a play for the Jays to win the division. I think it's wide open.
Yeah, I agree. And like what, 6 games back, like they have plenty of time to catch up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and also they have, I think they have 2 series still left against the Orioles. So if the Orioles are the team to catch, they have the games to do it. But also their issue has been that they've been bad in AL East games all season. They stink when they play divisional opponents. So hopefully they have to fix that down the stretch if they want any hope. So there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to the audio version of this, rate and review the podcast. And if you're watching this live, come back at 3:30 p.m. Eastern because Adam and Robert will be doing a trade deadline mailbag episode. And maybe I will be in the chat there and get their thoughts on Ohtani to the Blue Jays. It's possible. It's possible. I saw some odds out there, and I think the Jays are like 6th on the odds list to get Ohtani.
Never say never.
Never say never. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back likely next week. Best of luck with your bets. Use or sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook if you haven't already, and use promo code Baseball Insider. Go ahead and do that, and either fade or tail or picks, whatever you want to do. Good luck with those bets, and we'll talk to you next time.